So we were talking about the external analysis and internal analysis. So without actually doing it, we just cannot choose any strategic decision making for your firm's competitive advantage. So yeah, the So first, for your external analysis, you may look at, see here, external environment, or you may look at specifically your own industry. Here we talked about 5 forces you may look at more closely to understand the mechanisms of your industry, to what extent the power of 5 forces were actually impacting your industry's profitability. So your industry analysis simply say estimate the power of 5 forces. We know what those 5 forces. So like the forces of your supplier, your buyer, your competitors, your say the what else? 5 forces. Your substitute, the power of your substitute players, and degree of the competition in your industry. So you estimate those powers of the 5 forces. So you may estimate to what extent the industry that you are in or the industry that you are particularly interested in are profitable or not profitable, promising or not promising. So you can estimate how the industry in particular looked like. If you want to like more narrow down of your external analysis, then you may choose strategic group analysis or competitor analysis. So rather broad approach here, but by moving to the industry, strategic group, and competitor analysis, you can actually focus more on specific external forces that may impact your business. Like the strategic group analysis here simply means here, unlike the other, strategic group analysis means that here the product is actually unit of your analysis. Say you are making say Sonat, say say Genesis, for instance, by Hyundai, and strategic group analysis actually tell you that what particular products are competitor product of the Genesis, right? So here, your product is the unit of analysis, not really the company, right? So what would be the say competitor product, competing product of Genesis, if you name? You may name like 5 or 4 car brand types of car from various different car companies. So those competing product as a group, you analyze how you analyze how those competitors are actually behaving in that particular, say, car market in terms of their, say, what? Let's say, who are the competing car of the Genesis? What? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really. There may be, right, some cars. So just collecting 4 or 5 of those cars and analyze those cars in comparison to your Genesis in terms of, say, in terms of what? When you compare something, there should be something to compare, right? Choosing that something is actually the essence of the analysis. Yeah.
Revenue?
revenue, yep, revenue, and why the revenue gap there exists. You can explain more. What else? I mean, you can name anything if you are interested, and if you think that particular factors are actually impacting the, say, profitability difference of that group of car. Right? So say Genesis profitability, say, would be like 10%, and why then probably the other competing car may have different profitability. So by using the profitability, you may explain why profitability may vary in terms of marketing practice, in terms of human resource management, in terms of, say, internationalization. So you can actually choose any factor to compare those groups. So the point here is that you have to choose the right groups, right? Rolls-Royce may not be really competing product of the Genesis, so it's not really making sense to compare Genesis and the practice of Rolls-Royce under the name of this group analysis. What about the competitor analysis on the other hand? Competitor analysis on the other hand means that you just choose one or two the closest competitors and understand who, what, and how they are doing. So by understanding it, you may understand what kind of, say, your external environment will be. So anyway, the external environment, the most powerful influential forces are your competitors. So rather than thinking about other, say, general environment, industry, why not just focusing on the competitors? Like, say, Samsung Electronics, who are making semiconductor, the Intel would be there, the closest competing competitors, right? So in that case, Samsung Electronics, like analyzing a competitor like Intel, may be the most important external analysis, right? Because like Intel and Samsung share like almost like together 80% of, say, semiconductor market in the world, right? So in that sense, competitor analysis making more sense. So however, the question is, you know who are the most powerful competitors, but about what you are going to analyze it. So that is the question. Let's say that Intel is your number one competitors. Then what are you going to analyze about the firm? Yeah.
Four things.
What?
Strengths, weaknesses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Product.
Yeah. So strengths. When you say strengths, more specific, what kind of strengths you are going to look at? I mean, in management, you can name anything as far as you actually justify why you have chosen your own, say, reasoning or a particular factor or whatever. So you said that strength, weakness, opportunity of like a SWOT of the say Intel. Yeah, that's fine, but you have to justify why you have chosen those. What particular strength? The strength means actually a lot, right? So what particular aspect of strength you are going to look at? What particular aspects of weakness you are going to look at? So that's important. Right? So when you actually understand your competitors, in theory, you have to actually look at 4 areas. So if you understand 4 about the competitors, then you can actually say, yeah, I understand what my competitor is actually thinking about now, and what will be my competitor is about to do in the very near or long-term future. So as you said, when you understand competitor, the first thing you have to look at is you have to, of course, understand the strength of the competitors. So as I ask you, like, what kind of strengths we are going to talk about a few minutes later. So first, anyway, the area you have to look at about the competitor is what are their strengths? Like Intel, Samsung should understand what kind of strengths the Intel does have. So that is the first area you have to look at for doing the analysis, right? So you have to look at the competitors first. This is very important, strength about the competitors, right? And what else?
Weaknesses.
So strength means weakness altogether. We call this a capability. Instead of strength, like you have to understand capability of the competitors. So capability includes strength, weakness, and so on. So estimate what kind of capability makes your competitor strong. So you have to understand the capability of the competitors. What others? Just think about, say, your enemy. Like, market share.
How many percentage they
Market share. Market share, of course. The market share of the competitors.
Professor.
So the competitors, what?
Financial resources and requirements.
So yeah, that competitors' resource requirement. Well, that's part of our competitor. So if you capability. If you specify capability, that may part of the item here in capability. And of course, also you have to look at the market share, but you can be more specific.
how many percentage?
So yeah, you can easily find the competitor's market share. You can just find it from the internet. So based on the market share of a competitor, what's your intention? What competitor's market share actually tell you?
Like how many consumers use their products instead of ours?
Consumer.
So trying to get their consumers to change
For their consumers, right? So their attitude, of course. So of course, very important. What are the market share of competitors, and who really buy the competitors' product, right? So you have to understand this one. What else? If you really look at the analyze competitors, like market share, who are the consumer, who are the loyalty consumer of the competitors, you can find it. This one, if you investigate. What else? But something is very hard for you to find about the competitors. What would be that something?
Their public image.
Public image. Yeah, public image. Why you need to know this one?
That heavily influences consumer choices.
Yeah. Public image. Yeah, it's also related to the consumer loyalty, and so public image. Yeah, very important for you to understand. What else? So you can list lots of items, lots of the things for you to understand about the enemies. All together, this is pretty much like theoretical suggestion. So for you to conduct the competitor analysis, actually it is up to you what way you actually do for the competitor analysis. All this one certainly kind of essential. You shouldn't miss this one. But in management theory, we say that for you to understand the competitor, for you to analyze competitor, the first thing you have to know is the competitor's capability. So we talk about what the capability means. And the second thing that you should know about the competitor is the competitor's strategy. So what kind of action the company have chosen so far, and based on the competitor's strategy so far, you can estimate what the competitor's strategy will be. likely to be in the future. So strategy is simply, and we have learned that kind of a way of action to achieve the organization's goal, right? So you have to understand the competitor strategy. How? Spies. Yeah, I mean, you can have spies, but if you are actually in the industry, certainly it is not that difficult for you to understand the competitor strategy. But thing is, when you actually understand the competitor strategy, I think the recommendation is that you just classify what kind of strategies are actually have chosen or available or have taken in your industry. So classification of your strategy in your industry is the first job, and then which one the competitors have chosen most often in the past, right? And then you may estimate based on that what kind of strategy will be taken in the future. But when you say, yeah.
I just had a question. Would it be okay to benchmark with your competitor's strategy?
Yeah, so benchmark or not, yes, of course, it is actually up to you. I mean, like in strategy, like a lot of companies are actually imitating each other a lot. So if Samsung does this and Intel does the same way, just like Apple and Samsung, they are actually doing quite same. So at the end, they look like choosing different strategy, but at the end, they are just doing the same thing. So that's why they copy each other a lot. Simply, probably estimating the competitor strategy, if a particular strategy may work, then you may copy that one, right? So anyway, just classifying strategy and then what kind of strategy among those classifications the competitor have chosen. Then maybe kind of ideas of understanding the competitor strategies. But in strategic management, there are 1,000 strategies chosen by companies, right? But you can grouping those 1,000 strategies into 4 different kinds of strategies, right? So like in textbook or in public, any kinds of book, in the library or bookshop telling you this is like brand new strategy that your that may help your firm, number 1. So a lot of new strategy may be introducing every morning, but actually strategies are actually at the end classified into 4 different kinds. Those are, say, what I call a generic strategy. So number 1 is like cost leadership. Like whatever strategy of your firm or competitor, then maybe cost leadership. Like they just try to lead in terms of cost. Right? Cost leadership simply means try to do something at lower cost. So lower cost means the company try to achieve something by low price, simply say, right? Low cost means it costs you less money to make something, right? So that means you actually put lower price to the customers. So that lower price may attract more customers. So low cost strategy or cost leadership strategy may be one of the very standard strategy a company may choose. The second strategy is differentiation, right? So differentiation strategy simply means that the price of the strategy doesn't really matter, right? The quality doesn't matter, right? Like lots of, say, luxurious brand. Like the price doesn't really matter. So people are still buying it because by believing that the product's qualities are superior. So, like say, like handbags. Like here, ladies crazy about handbags. Right? Some handbags are extremely expensive, right? But still, ladies keep buying it. The price doesn't matter. So So that is like differentiation strategies, right? So customer really doesn't bother by the price. They only believe its quality. Some company choose that strategy, like differentiation strategies. Or the other two would be cost leadership, differentiation by in narrow market. So we will be learning later. So anyway, the point is that strategy may be 1,000 kinds, but that's kind of either cost leadership or differentiation, right? So you can understand what kind of strategy the competitor have chosen in the past. Like the LG, for instance, they used to pursue the cost leadership. They just tried to make LG product price competitive way. So like cheaper price is their strategy. But this day, they changed their strategy into more premium strategy, right? So if you visit like a lot of shop, the price of the LG products are not that cheap anymore, very expensive. Right? So they just changed from the differentiation strategy to, the price leadership, cost leadership strategy into differentiation this day. So that's how they shift their strategies. So simply you have to look at how the competitors' strategies in the past, what kind of change has been made, and what will be the strategy of the competitor in the future. So that kind of assumptions are quite important. So you have to analyze their tactics, strategies, and so on. And what else? You have to understand the competitors' objective. What are the objectives of the competitors? This is quite important. If you want to win the enemies, if you want to say conquer the enemy, you have to clearly understand the objective of the enemies. Right? So, objective of all firms are exactly the same, right? More market share, more for a profit. So obviously, ultimately, the objectives are the same. However, the way to achieve that objectives are quite different. You said that you have to understand the market share of the competitors, right? But you have to not only look at market share of the competitor at a particular point of time, but you have to see how the market share changed. The pattern of market share changed in the past. You have to read it very correctly. So the point of the objective here means that in order to achieve, so the point is that some firms prefer to have more markets, right? Especially a lot of Korean firms. They want to be big, right? They want to be like a conglomerate, more market share, more customers. So they believe that like Korean companies in the past, until very recently, like having big market share, big revenues, huge sales volume, that was actually ultimately the goal of the firms. If you achieve that one, then you will be prosper longer. So that may be the objective. But a lot of, companies from the Western, USA, North America, Europe, like market share, having more market share, increasing more sales, of course it is important, but more important than that is profitability. Right? How much money actually you make at the end. So even if you have very small market share, making money at your hand, in your pocket, in your bank account is more important. So like market share may be more important to a lot of like Chinese companies or Korean companies, but profitability may be more important to the European companies or the say American companies and so on. So depending on which objective is your put as your priority, your actions are quite different, right? Say if you say our company's objective is having more market share, bigger size, more revenue, then the way to do it is quite different from like the way for you to making the profit. So the point is, what's the objective of the firm? So that of the competitors, you have to read it. But the point is that understand the objective of the competitors sometimes not really seen well. The objective may be sometimes hidden inside the mind of the competitors' top management. So you have to understand what are the objective of say North Korea ultimately. What's the goal of the North Korea?
Spread communism.
To maintain their government.
So yeah, you may say a lot of say, we know what they are. They just try to maintain their existence, the government, right? But is that all?
To fulfill the needs of their great leader, Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, there may be. So the point is that what are the priority of that objective? Which one is number one objective? We don't know, not really. So we know what's their objective, but what are really their number one and priority as their objective? Still, unless we are asking directly to that guy, right? The Kim Jong-un, we just never figure out, right? So to understand the objective of the competitors, unless you directly asking to the top management, you just cannot really understand correctly. And number 4 is, so in similar vein, number 4 is you have to understand what are the assumption of the competitors. Here assumption means how the competitors view the market. Like Intel, for instance, the competitor of Samsung Electronics in many semiconductor. Here the assumption means how the competitors view the market of semiconductor. It is growing more, or it is already mature stage, or it is pretty much at the early stage of growth. So that is what I mean here by the assumptions. How the competitors view the market of that particular industries. So if you really understand the say assumption of the competitors, you may estimate what will be the next step of the competitors. Like back to semiconductor, the assumption of Samsung Electronics is that there will be another new stage of semiconductor. I mean, semiconductor is pretty much like mature stage of industry. Right? The growth in the future may be slow, but if you read the articles, also the interview of Samsung Semiconductor Business Unit a few years ago, they keep saying that we will have another era of semiconductor because of the what? Samur Internet of Things. So because of that new technology, a brand new need of semiconductor will be coming. So the sales of that semiconductor will quadruple. So that is actually assumption of Samsung Electronics about the semiconductor business. So probably the Intel may thought that the assumption of Samsung Electronics about the semiconductor is that the industry it will be even more growing. So which means that Intel should prepare more aggressive investments of Samsung in the near future. So whether the competitor view that industry growing or matured or at early stage or dying, declining. So what kind of assumption the competitor has, you have to figure out. So finally, when you actually analyze the competitors, that means you understand the competitors in terms of competitors' capability, in terms of competitors' strategy, competitors' objective and assumptions. Okay, but the thing is, all these fours are not really a number, exist in number or figures, table or graph and so on. So figuring out this one may be implicit, not explicit. So your judgment about this one of the competitors may be wrong or right, or halfway right or halfway wrong, whatever. So that's why clearly understand the competitors. This one is very hard. So that's why the competitor analysis is very difficult. A lot of subjective judgment necessary, and you are, say, industry expertise ideas about the competitors may be also necessary. So so the point again, this area, so how are you going to say materialize this one? That's your job, right? Like how can you say investigate the objective and assumption of the competitor? How can you figure this out? Spy, somebody may say that, right? Yeah.
Market research.
Yeah, market research, but yeah, if market research may provide the ideas of this one of the competitors, then you can do that. But I'm pretty much sure that there's no direct way of understanding this one. So a lot of indirect way to figure this out, but yeah, not really. You cannot calculate this one. So. So that's why the competitor analysis is pretty much art and quite difficult job to do. So the discussion so far was like how you actually conduct the external analysis, the situation that surrounds your companies in terms of strategic group, competitor, in terms of say industry and general environment. But at the same time, you should do the internal analysis. Simply means that you have to investigate who you are, right? What really you are. So if I ask you, who are you? Then how can you define yourself? So in business term here, so if you work for a company A, like Hanyang, for instance, then what's your companies are good at? What's your companies are bad at? If somebody asks you this one, you can say, yeah, our company is good at making this one, our company's capability is providing this one, and so on. But are you sure that's really your company's internal strength, capability? So internal analysis simply means defining what's your company's capability, ability, right, strength, and what's your company's weakness. Right? So simply means by doing the internal analysis, you can identify this is our company's strengths and weakness. But the question is, how can you do that job? Right? You just cannot say, I know this. Simply, I just know. You just cannot do that, right? Yeah. Benchmarking, yeah. Benchmarking is the way for you to understand internal weakness and strengths. But what is benchmarking anyway?
Well,
Okay.
really,
Yeah. So benchmarking is, as you said, simply say, compare you and with the best company in your industry, or compare you with the best practice, regardless of industry. So simply means benchmarking means choose the best one and just compare that best one with you and find whether you are better or worse. So by doing so, you can list, this is our strength and this is my weakness. So that's simply the benchmark. Like choose the best students in this classroom and compare that best students with you in terms of this and that, and then you may say, on this one I'm better than him or her, and on this one I'm not better than him or her. So in worst part I can improve this or that way, so I can be a better compared to that the best student. So benchmarking is actually a kind of a process for you to identify what's your strengths and weakness, right? So before we talk about the like specific method of analyzing who you are in terms of your strengths and weakness, we have to first understand the concept of tangible resource and intangible resource. So when you actually understand who you are in terms of also what's your strengths and weakness, you talk about it by looking at your resource. Right? Based on what you have, you talk about you better, you weaker, you are stronger, you are worse, and so on. So there should be something to compare, right? So that something to compare is resource. So what is resource? As you see here, resource means something the company possesses. Could you tell me anything about example about the resource of the firm? Cash is the resource. Workers. Technology. Time. What? Time. What do you mean by time? So materials, right? Yeah, that may be resource. So what else? Patent. Patent may be the resource. So simply resource means something the company has, right? So you can list a lot of resource, but we can classify that one into like tangible resource and intangible resource. So tangible resource means something you can actually see, touch, or you can written down in say manual format and so on. And intangible resource means you know that you have that one, but you just cannot describe, like your company's experience, right? Corporate culture. Like Doosan, for instance, they have their own unique corporate culture, which make the company good. But can you see that corporate culture? Right? You just cannot see it. But that's part of the important resource of the firm. So, so you have to list what are your tangible resource and what are your intangible resource. You have to, like cash. Cash is a tangible resource. You just can count how much cash you have, right? You have, and like plants, workers, like assembly lines, factories. That is a tangible resource. What do you call it? Physical assets. But what time it is now? Okay.
45.
But more important thing is intangible resource, right? As I mentioned earlier, companies copy each other a lot, right? Strategy as well. Say, like LG, for instance, their strategy of marketing, I'm pretty sure, let's say that LG does like a huge promotional strategy to sell more TV and so on. Then you can see the right next day, Samsung exactly the same things, right? So strategy, like marketing, promotion things, price promotion things, copy a lot. But something you just cannot copy, like Tiger Woods. I don't know, he is still the best golfer. Right? We know why. Who's the number one golfer this day? Anyway, I know Tiger, but I don't know who's the best after Tiger Woods. But for me, like Tiger Woods was really the best golfer. We know why he's the best player. There's a lot of video, right? His practice, his lessons, but we just cannot exactly copy his way, right? No matter what even if you watch his video of, say, practice 1,000 times every day, you just cannot really copy his skill. That's intangible resource. Something you just cannot really copy, imitate exactly. Like Toyota, for instance, their way of manufacturing of cars, number one. So a lot of, say, car makers, students visit the Toyota factories every year, 1,000 visitors. The Toyota actually wide open their factory to show how they making the car. But no companies cannot exactly do the same way of making the cars, right? So that is intangible resource, skill, right? Path-dependent experience. They just knew it. They just did it throughout a lot of trials and errors, experience, and so on. You just cannot copy it in 1 or 2 days or in few years. So that is intangible resource. A company's technology, a company's knowledge of the human capital, and a company's reputation. This part, what we call an intangible resource, and this is the resource really valuable, right? So the point of internal analysis, it simply means estimate how much powerful of your internal intangible resource, right? To what extent your company does have a reputation in comparison with, say, Apple. Like Apple does have that much reputation, for instance, and compared to Apple, how much your company's reputation would be. Right? So by simply comparing, only by using that reputation, you can estimate your internal strength. Right? So internal analysis simply continuous comparison between your firm and some target firm that you wish to compare, or the best companies and so on. So how then you actually compare? That is actually what we are going to talk about. Benchmarking is one way for you to compare you and your, say, best competitors or the best company. Or the thing like value chain analysis, also a way for you to compare yourself and the competitors or the best companies. Or Vario analysis may be also one way for you to compare yourself and the best companies in terms of internal strength and weakness. So let's talk about this one after the break. Students keep asking me about the midterm, so I have a lot of work to do, you know that. So I'm grading your essay now. As soon as I finish, probably next week, I will return your midterm. Okay, but I finished the multiple choice, and you guys are quite done well. Am I too easy on that exam?
No.
So, I mean, did I really underestimate you, or? So I think a lot of you guys have a very good score in the multiple choice. So I'm pretty happy for that. Also, have you checked the guideline of your essay? So the student here not doing group project should do that the essay assignment. So I gave you 2 essay questions. So 4 pages for each question. So altogether you have to write 8 pages, 8 or 5, including reference, table of content, table figures, and so on, graph, whatever. Okay. So let me tell you how you actually identify your company's strength and weakness. So when you say capability in management, capability means that your company's ability to use a particular resource very well. So that ability is what I call a capability. So the resource may be intangible or tangible, right? So if your firm does have ability to use a particular resource very well compared to other companies, then that's what I call capabilities or core competences. So let's say that how you can identify what are your company's capability, like really real strength, or what are the things that kind of a weakness. The first way is functional analysis. So functional analysis means every business does consist of key functions, obviously. Like management would be the key function of the firms, of the industry. And management information system is also the very fundamental function of, say, every business these days, every industry. And R&D, research and development, is also the key function of every business these days. And like manufacturing, design, marketing, and sales and distribution. So these are the key functions, right? These are the key functions. So upon these key functions, you have to list, considering your business and your industries, what particular capabilities are required. Say, manufacturings are your major functions, right? So in your industry, what particular aspects of the manufacturing functions are highly essential? You have to list that one. Right? Say efficiency, for instance, would be your key essential in your, say, manufacturing. You may list efficiency as your business manufacturing function here. This is just example. What are the key aspects of manufacturing? Capacity, on the other hand, may be your, say, key aspect of your manufacturing. Or, flexibility of your business may be essential your, say, manufacturing. Like car making, for instance. Manufacturing is essential function in cars, right? Having said that, what specific functions of manufacturing in cars are essential this day? So you have to list that. This is just example. So in car making industry, asking yourself or invite professionals from outside, industry expert. So you ask these questions to a lot of internal and external experts, and what would be the key aspects in car making, car manufacturing. So let's say that these three would be the key essentials in manufacturing. So that means, and then you compare whether this one in your firms, so this one of your firms and this one of the competitors that you have chosen, who are the number one, say, car companies. So by comparing on these three aspects, you can evaluate whether manufacturing your firms are better or not. So if you are, say, manufacturings in terms of these aspects better than your chosen competitors or the best benchmark companies, then you can say that manufacturing is your company's strength, right? So point again, just comparing this one with your competitors, and then you can evaluate whether you or not your manufacturing would be your strength or weakness. You just do exactly the same things, just listing a specific comparison item here. So which item to choose is actually up to you. You, industry expert, all together. So items, this one, are very industry specific, right? So there's no like standard measurement in the functional area here. So you can actually develop your own comparison item. And then you compare your, say, the best benchmark companies, the leader of the industry, and so on. Right? So that's what I call a functional analysis. So at the end or together, you may end up with like, yes, manufacturing, we are very superior to our benchmark companies. So manufacturing will be your strength. However, you may say that marketing may be our weakness in terms of these three aspects in comparison with your, say, competitors. That's how you can list what will be your strength or what will be your weakness. Or the practitioners may also use a value chain analysis. So simply the value chain analysis means that just think about your company's activities, and you divide your company's activities by using this framework. Right? You just divide your activities into this mutually kind of exclusive activities. So rather than comparing all of your firms with your competitors or the best company, you just compare one by one, cell by cell here, like this one to the competitors, and operation of your firms and operation of your competitors, and outbound logistic of your company with the outbound logistic of the, say, comparison company, and so on. So you can point out which part of the activity here better for you, and which part of your company's activities worse for you in comparison with your, say, competitors or best player. So just remember, this map is what I call a value chain. I mean, this framework is not only used for internal analysis, like identifying your strengths and weakness, but also this framework is actually used a lot in many other strategic decision making. So, like obviously, just if you see a new kind of business or new kind of industry, for you to conceptualize that business and that industry, try to think about that industry by using this one, right? Like say the e-commerce, right? Which was like one of our exam questions. What is e-commerce? What is e-commerce industry? What is electronic business? You just do not clearly visualize how it looks like, right? We know when we say car making industry, we know how it works, right? But in internet business or e-commerce, you just cannot easily visualize or conceptualize the business. So think about that e-commerce business by using this one. So in e-commerce, what would be the activity of inbound logistics? What kind of operation is actually done in that business? What would be the outbound logistics and so on? So definition of this one, have a look at in your textbook. But this map actually helps you understand a particular industry which may be new to you in more easier way to yourself. So the value chain, right? Value chain means that by moving one cell to the other, the value is added, right? So, and that added values are connected. So that's why we put chain. So by moving from here to there, the value is added. So at the end, customer here may receive the product finally. So that final product that in your hand does not create it all of a sudden. It is go through this value chain process. Right? So that's why we call value chain. Values are connected like chain. Right? So benchmarking simply again compare yourself. You are say the best player that you think, or industry leader who has the largest market share or who has the most profitable, and you just compare in terms of value chain or in terms of functional capabilities. So let's say that we now clearly understand how to conduct the external analysis and internal analysis. Then the next step is you have to define, based on your analysis, what's your firm's strategic intent and mission statement. As I told you at the beginning of the class, you can see strategic intent and mission statement of all companies at the front pages of the firm's website, right? Like Starbucks, what are their strategic intent and what are their mission statements? If you are looking at internet now, please have a look at it. What are the Starbucks mission statement and strategic intent? So definition of strategic intent means the company's ideas of how they will use their, please do it after class, okay? The definition of the mission statement here means the company's intention to use their resource, right? So we have this and that resource, and this is our intention how to use this one. If you manifest that one, outspoken way, that's your strategic intent. Mission statements, on the other hand, means you declare why we exist. Like Starbucks, their mission statement would be, I don't know, I just forgot it. Their mission statement of the Starbucks would be like, we provide the luxurious coffee of whatever, blah, 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 right? That's their mission statement. So the point is that they do not say that arbitrarily. They do not make that word in fancy way by the ideas of the founder or whoever. They declare their strategic intent and mission statement purely based on their company's internal and external analysis, right? That's the point. So the process of making strategic mission statement and strategic intent is not really an easy job. It is, I'm telling you, based on a kind of a very clear, analysis, right, of, let's say, internal and external analysis. Without doing it, you just cannot say strategic intent and mission statement. Why having strategic intent and strategic mission is important? Because depending on how you define this one, your choice of action actually also determined. So the point, the company's internal, external analysis, strategic intent, mission statement, and then strategic choice, they are all connected. Right? If they are like all misconnected or not connected, then it is a very poor company. If you wish to be a very good student, for instance, your internal analysis, your external analysis, based on that, your objective of a goal and your choice of action should all connect it, right? You know what I'm saying? So without connection, what you call a fitness of all those, you cannot build a very good companies. Okay, so let's talk about then, let's say that we have strategic intent and mission statement. Then we move up, like how you can then choose the strategy. You know your strengths, you know your weakness. Now you, based on that, now you have your mission, your goal. Then what kind of action you have to actually choose? That's another question. We are going to talk about this one. And also the presentation group, you do the presentation, of course the PowerPoint point will be made on the presentation day. And plus you have to submit like 15 to 20 pages of paper, you know that, right? For each group. So please do not forget that.